You're really surprised that when you voted for the Eat Babies party that somebody was going to eat a baby. I'm shocked. Oh, it's horrible. Okay.
Yes, but at least they used a dry rub, so that's going to at least count in some parts of the country. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 581 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Terry Mixon. Joining me, Paul E. Cooley.
This is not a football match.
It's wrestling. This is WWE wrestling.
Okay.
Back when you could be the WWE, or is it WWF? It used to be one or the other, and then somebody sued them.
I know nothing.
I think it used to be WWF, and then they got sued because there was already a WWF.
I don't know.
That's the announcer, get in there, just doesn't stop talking.
It sounded to me like the guy or the announcer, I guess he's Spanish or Mexican, speaks Spanish anyway, who always says, go, forever. That's what I heard in my brain.
All right.
Why are you now Boom Boom Terry Mixon?
I changed it shortly after you made comment of my name. I said, oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I don't have to have a reason. That's just because I felt like it.
Okay, fair enough. Fine.
I hear you've been busy, Mr. Man. What have you been up to?
Robots.
Surely the robot is fully programmed by now.
Oh, holy shit. No, it'll never be fully programmed. Ever. That's the nature of going, we have this grand vision and it's way, way, way in the future. We have to get.
You've got funding to get to the way future. You're in.
Yeah, that kind of always is the issue. But anyway, it was a really productive week in Austin. But as usual, when I'm there, it's like 3.5, 4 days of just, I think I saw the sun maybe 10 times over 4 days. So yeah, it was pretty intense. And of course, I was back at it this morning. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to do much of anything beyond writing software. And I now keep transposing Python into my JavaScript. And now that I'm back on my Mac, I'm all confused about which command shortcuts I'm supposed to use because it's different on a Mac versus Linux. And oh, my life sucks.
I feel your pain.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Jones going to get back in the shipyards. So it'll be tomorrow morning's task. Sunday, I will have time to make for myself, God damn it, and there will be some Paul time, some good Paul time. What about you, Mr. Boom Boom?
I just wrapped up chapter 7 of Recruit. Had to take out the explosion scene I put at the end. That probably has something to do with the boom boom. I think we were talking about that in the pre-show.
Yes.
I decided it was too soon for the explosion, so I took it out. I'll put it in later.
Timing. Here be explosions.
The bad guys haven't had a chance to really get themselves set up yet. So
you gotta wait till they get themselves set like you're talking about. They get complacent, stupid, and then you take them apart one at a time.
Think of this story a little bit like Starship Troopers, the movie.
Okay.
You remember how they had the basic training in there? They've only just arrived at the basic training. They haven't had the opportunity to go ahead and have somebody throw a knife through somebody's hand yet so the drill instructor can go, medic!
Or somebody gets shot in the face, medic!
It's too soon in the training cycle. They only just arrived. You can't have the blow-ups until you're a little further along.
Yeah, unless you want them basically walking into a Jojo Rabbit moment. That would be, yeah.
I think I can avoid that. This character's got enough problems.
I didn't mean that was happening to them. Seeing it happen, that's a little different. That could be, well, that's a different story. Anyway, that's not even remotely related to the story you're telling right now. So anyway, carry on.
But yeah, I'm not sure what percentage of the book I'm through, but I think I finally got all the opening elements in place to get down into the storyline and make the character's life a living hell.
You're such a jerk.
Hey, I gave her a friend.
You gave her a friend. Gave your character a friend. Your character didn't earn a friend.
They just got there. They only just met.
Uh-huh. Is this friend imaginary or real? It's always a question I have to ask.
It's another recruit trainee. So it's real.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I also gave her an enemy. So
the old Harry Potter Draco Malfoy thing from the very get-go. Yeah, I see how this is. I see where this is going. So are you making Police Academy? What are you doing here?
Well, only with the lectern. Only the speeches from the lectern. That's the only part of it that's going to be in this book.
It's completely forgotten about that scene. That's not the first thing that came to my mind. But first thing that came to my mind was Bubba Smith ripping off the doors of that car to get in it. That's the first thing, or taking the seat out just to get in it.
There was an episode of Chips where they had Rosie Greer driving in this little bitty car. I mean, one of these little micro cars that he just barely fit inside this car. And it's just chugging along, just blowing smoke and pieces falling off of it.
So he's driving in a Gremlin is what you're telling me.
And he keeps saying, I got to get home to Mama. Mama's going to be mad. Got to get home to Mama. And they pull him over. Not because he's speeding, because the thing is like a disaster area waiting to happen. And he gets out of the car and begins disassembling the car, basically tearing it apart. And they're like smiling, and they come up and like give him the ticket and back away.
My late brother-in-law, his Taurus got towed back to his house, and turns out it was like the third time it had done whatever it did. It stalled out or something, and he was pulled over. He pulled out his 357 out of the glove compartment, popped the hood, aimed straight at the engine block, and somebody was screaming out, "No, don't do it!" He didn't shoot it, but apparently he was really, really close. I don't know if that actually happened, but I can completely see witnessing that, just seeing the car get put out of its misery like that. Or somebody's so goddamn mad they just lose their shit and start destroying an inanimate object for no reason. No reason anyway.
The chief goes, what do we do? What do we do? I suppose we could ticket him for littering, but I'm not going to go up there.
Is it his car? I think so. He's not endangering anybody but himself. And even that's kind of debatable. Yeah. What do you do?
What do you do?
Probably nothing. We're just going to sit here and let this happen and munch some popcorn. Oh, that was a good hit. Oh,
it's like watching extreme dodgeball. Oh,
this doesn't sound fun.
I haven't watched any. I've only seen the previews for it. So I'm like, you're really digging the bottom of the barrel if that's what you got for reality television. Sorry.
No comment there. I'm going to leave that one where it is.
They had J.J. Watt and his brothers hosting a show called Extreme Tag. I watched the first episode of that. I'm like,
why?
Why?
Why did you watch an episode? You're the reason why they make these shows, so that you will be the one person who watches the goddamn commercial. That's it.
I watched it. I looked at this. And I said, I can't imagine how this would be very entertaining long term. I'm already bored. This is episode 1.
Well, okay then. On that note,
we should
where
talk
do we go?
Well, the only place you can go from there is revenge.
And
so you were saying that you don't think, and by the way, I think we're starting on the actual episode now, folks.
That'd be a first.
I know. Here we go. We're actually putting a demarcation line in here. This is where the beginning is.
This and no further. All right, Terry, what is this topic you appear to think we have stumbled into?
Revenge.
Revenge?
You said revenge.
Revenge. It's
It's no
Italian.
longer a thing.
No, I did not say revenge was no longer a thing. I said I am no longer into revenge stories.
Oh. Well, I think talking about revenge stories is actually an interesting gateway to talking about certain types of writing, certain types of storylines. And I want to see where we go with this.
We shall go to Revenge Land.
Let's start off with Mac Bolan, the Executioner.
Oh boy. Now
that's an old series.
Holy shit. If you ain't up on your Mac Bolan, you ain't never gonna be. Just let us spoil the shit out of it for you.
That is a series of novels written about revenge.
It's The Punisher. It was the template for The Punisher. If you're more familiar with that. Mac Bolan was the template for The Punisher.
I cannot begin to count the number of mobsters that he killed in those books. I'm sure somebody has counted them.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a Mac Bolan site out there that has like the tally. It'd be like trying to count the number of people the Punisher has iced in his long career throughout many of the things.
So many mobsters that an FBI agent that was planted inside the mob became the capo di tutti capo.
The big guy.
The boss of all bosses. How many mobsters do you have to kill till you have Leo the Pussy as your mob boss?
So we got Leo, we got Vinny from the car wash, and we call him Howard, but he's the guy
a little bit short on muscle right now, boss. We ain't got nobody.
We're a bit short on managers and executives, if you know what I mean. So we're actively recruiting.
We're having to branch out a little bit, open some stalls at the college campus, go to job fairs.
We swore in our first non-Italian American. Yeah. Oh God, I could just see that. It's so fucking funny. Oh man. Yeah. Basically, he just went around the entire United States just whacking everybody and their dog.
When they wrapped up the main thrust of the first series of books, he was recruited to become a military contractor, and he said, "I can't do it yet because I need a week to finish up business." And then he went on a road trip.
Rampage? Road trip? Rampage?
And by the way, I didn't make up the name. Leo the Pussy was the name in the book. He was the prostitution guy, okay? Yep. I am not responsible for his name.
Was his name. That was all the precursor to the Stony Man stuff with Able Team, Phoenix Force, and etc. And wow, did you pull me back to being 12 and 13. Holy crap. God, I must have read like 40 of those damn things.
Reading that is almost like reading the Destroyer novels.
I liked one of the newer ones. I think it was written probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years after the main story arcs ended or whatever. It was okay. It was all right. But that was back when I was, I don't know, 17, 18. I don't think I read one since.
I haven't read Bolan in a long, long time. Or the Destroyer, for that matter. So,
if you have not read The Grandmaster, you should. That is probably the best that Warren Murphy and Molly Cochran, is that her name?
I don't know.
I can't remember. They collaborated on a shit ton of stuff. They did The Grandmaster, unless I'm thinking of somebody else. And that is an excellent, excellent book and a really, really good revenge story as well. That is one that's worth revisiting probably. And the sex scenes are pretty serious. Just warning you. like destroyer style sex scenes, and maybe a little notch beyond that. So
we're
that should tell you.
talking Nicolas Cage returned from hell, having sex while the assassins break into the room, shooting people up while still having sex scenes.
Not quite that bad, but they're pretty explicit. Let me say that. That's pretty much how all that worked. But I think that was the best story they wrote. Unless I'm actually attributing that to somebody who's really somebody else, but that's the best one I remember. I don't think Don Pendleton ever branched out from that stuff. I don't think he really wrote anything else, did he?
I don't know that he did. I'm not even sure really when he passed away and when the mantle passed on to others.
Yeah, I don't think that probably happened in the 30s or 40s, numbers wise. Maybe later. Maybe he got this.
I honestly don't remember. I know that I knew at one time, but I don't know now.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the archetype for, as I mentioned, the Punisher, and the Punisher in turn was the archetype for holy crap. Characters like practically every action hero that Stallone or Schwarzenegger have ever played. If you really think about it, and literally that is the Terminator, right? These are also the templates for the Terminator. Just single-minded, just bent on destruction, mayhem, and taking out fury of loss on those who most deserve it and were connected to it.
Revenge.
Why
are you yelling at me, Screamer?
We really need somebody to make us a cat difficulties YouTube sign that we can put up. Cat difficulties, please stand by.
We are suffering meowties. Meowties? Meow difficulties?
Meowtality.
I'd have to think up the right word to go along the way to stick meow in there. I'm not sure.
I don't want to see the meme that goes along with meowtality. It has to be said in a real.
Finish him!
Yeah, exactly.
That's some more revenge right in there. No, there's just something very strong about revenge stories. It's something that's really easy to grab the readers or the viewers if it's a movie that you're watching, because you get to see somebody thoroughly and utterly wronged, and then they get some back.
They're standing up for the little guy, man. They're standing up for themselves. Yeah. What is Rocky? Rocky is a struggle against self more than anything.
Yeah, but it's definitely not a revenge story.
I would say that I would.
I'm sure you could argue that Rocky is a revenge story.
No, but I will say this though. It is very. It's the inspiring story, right?
Yes.
And we get inspired by when karma comes back and visits people, because we imagine that some of those people that do those vile things, we like to believe that there's going to be justice, and that's the kind of avenging angel most Americans and Westerners would want to descend upon those who were responsible.
So, in the revenge stories tend to fit into the narrative of the world in which they're written.
Sure.
Back when Mac Bolan was written, the mob was a real problem. And so they were a nice, easy target for that kind of story.
And Vietnam was going on at the same time. And so it was what, 72 when those started? 71?
Something like that. My question to you then is this the appropriate time for me to start a new series that's a revenge-based storyline where you've got somebody taking back some of their own by going around and killing every politician he can get his hands on? Is this the right time for that?
Probably
I have
not.
my tongue firmly in my cheek as I'm saying this, but I thought I'd ask anyway.
Probably not. I I've got a problem with those kinds of stories where it's completely general. It's not specifically focused or directed.
Okay.
Um, you can write about a character who's taking orders from somebody or who has a goal that means I have to ice these people to get to my goal, or that I have to ice these people to take them out of the game so I can to get my goal. But there's a finite number.
Tell that to
The,
Mac Bolan.
the idea of the infinite is a bit much because in the long term it will turn you into the folks from BSG in season 4 or 5, whenever that was.
I don't know what happened there because I got sidetracked. I think somewhere in season 2
Okay,
and never got back to it.
let's
So I
just
don't
put
know
it
what
this
happened.
way: it's endless battle fatigue because it never stops coming. There's never any rest, and you can't have a character keep doing that without burning out completely. Not to mention burning out the readers because there's no growth. James Bond is not expected to grow from movie to movie. James Bond is expected to grow through the movie the 15% he's not kicking the shit out of somebody or being, seduced or seducing. That's
I got to
that's
tell you, Mac Bolan didn't grow.
no, Mac Bolan did not grow, and that is the thing about the story. That I guess that's why I get so bored with revenge stories. Is there's just so little growth in it, and everybody every once in a while wants to load up an FPS and go blast people, but it gets boring after a while. That's why they have to keep up in the ante with, oh, okay, well this we didn't go far enough with that, so now we're going to give a guy a grenade enema. Okay, well that was chilling and unnecessary, but okay, all
So
right, that was
here we
great.
go back to The Boys. Is that where we're going?
Haven't seen it.
They basically killed an invulnerable superhero by planting explosives up his bum.
Good plan. Totally good plan.
Really bloody and gross.
Oh, I'll bet. And it served its purpose. It served its purpose. But if you had the entire film like that, or the entire story is like that, I think you just how far can you go before you've already turned things up to 11 and there's no setting past that.
It's true,
You
and
screwed yourself.
I don't disagree with that at all. Looking at John Ringo, he wrote some stories. In my mind, they're the first ones that I read of his ghost novel, and the ones that followed it were somebody that was bent on putting paid to international terrorists,
Mhm.
and that was big during that time frame. It seems like there's always something out there. Somebody's writing some revenge tale to get even with some threat in the world. It's
True.
a market.
I know that if there were sentient beings that did somebody wrong or created some kind of major catastrophe or believed to be involved with the cause, you get Starship Troopers, right? You get an entire race suddenly bent on the absolute destruction of another race.
But they're
And
bugs, man, bugs.
yeah, I guess who picked the fight? That's really not important right now.
Remember Klendathu.
Yeah, I remember Clendathu. Yeah. Fuck you guys. Anyway, the bugs were innocent, man. They're bugs. You
Look at
fuck with them first, man.
Orson Scott Card's series of books about
Enders.
Ender's Game, and that was about the extermination of an enemy, very much like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But sooner or later, the extermination either becomes impossible or is done.
Mm-hmm. And then the consequences come.
And then the consequences kick in, and the consequences are where things get most interesting for me. That's where the real story is. I mean, everything else is just so much noise to get the character to that place where the real story begins. And if you do it, that's why a lot of those kinds of tales are told in different timelines, with characters remembering things or discussions about things that happened in the past and giving the reader a firsthand taste of it. It's pulling it back into the memory. If that's why a lot of those books are structured that way, is because it's better to weave in what has driven them to this point. It's better to weave that in than it is, at least for me. It's better to weave that in and leave doubt. And I think that makes the reader more interested in reading the story because they don't know the whole story yet. They're traveling along just like with the movie where they only know what they've been told and then they have to see the rest of it. And then you have to find a conceit for the character to reveal that.
So I'm not totally familiar with the Norse sagas. Was there a lot of revenge stuff in there as well? It seems like there would be.
The North sagas?
Norse.
You know, I'm not familiar enough to. I'm really not familiar enough to say.
Seems like with Vikings, there would be a ton of revenge buried in there somewhere.
Probably. I don't remember ever reading anything about Mesopotamian tales of revenge apart from, excuse me, what happens to Gilgamesh, but I'm not really sure you can count that as revenge specifically. I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know how many what cultures have how many stories of revenge, but yeah, I would think a barbaric culture would have that. Any kind of warrior culture would have that notion, but it's probably built into their justice system too. He grabbed my club. That club's my property. I split his skull with it. Yeah, simple.
If you just watch the Vikings show, you see plenty of revenge.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't doubt it. Well, you have like epic books. Shit. Count of Monte Cristo. Thank you. Which is, a fantastic story that goes along with this. It is a tale of revenge. It's him going
The
back.
Man in the Iron Mask.
Well, no, that's not a revenge tale. That's not a revenge tale.
Really, it sounds like it would be.
It's not at all a revenge tale.
Dang.
It's about busting a dude out of prison is what it is.
Figure he wants to get some back.
It's a prison break story is what it is. But Count on Monte Cristo is also a template. If you use that, highborn who gets dropped, it's almost like Trading Places, except the guy who hits the bottom realizes he'd been done wrong. He gonna take care of it, and bad things happen to everybody. And that was written by Robert Louis Stevenson back in the 1800s, if memory serves. Anyway, very popular book at the time. That's been around a long time in Western literature. I don't know when it started. I don't know where it came from, but I'm guessing it just came from the simple impulse that something horrible happened. My neighbor or somebody else did it, and I'm going to pay them back in kind.
He took my kettle. He shall pay.
It's the eye for an eye thing. However, let's go wacko with this. Like in Texas, where there's still laws that if they catch you with wire cutters in the back of your jeans and you're walking on somebody's land, they can arrest you. And you could get shot. The hanging offense.
Well, it doesn't matter if you got wire cutters in your pocket. You walk into somebody's property, you could get shot.
Regardless, it's an odd law that is still there on the books.
Mm. Welcome to the legal profession, where lots of weird laws that probably would never be enforced are still there.
Or may never have been enforced. You're not allowed to walk down the street with a duck in your head. What? Why
is you look at the law and go, okay, what was the inciting incident here?
Yeah, exactly. A law exists because somebody couldn't use common fucking sense, and so they had to spell it out. Basically, that's why a law exists. Is because we had to agree that this kind of behavior is intolerable because some people are just idiots. That's why a law is there, because you couldn't behave yourself otherwise. That's how it works. But yeah, some of them are just utterly ridiculous. But that is also a possible means for revenge. It doesn't have to be violence. It can be something political. It could be economic. It can be. It can also be a different kind of violence, which is psychic violence. In other words, getting back at a person by basically taking away everything they hold dear, one piece at a time. And that can be long-lived, very long-lived. and how it happens. Othello, anyone? Great story of revenge that goes. Well, I don't even want to describe it. If you're not familiar with Othello, there's a pretty good version with Morpheus. The hell is his name? Anyway, he plays Othello. It's pretty good. And Kenneth Branagh plays Iago. So if you've ever heard those names before and you're not familiar with the story, go watch the movie. It's pretty good. You'll understand what a true villain is. I'm trying
to remember the name of the television show that was on. It was either Revenge Incorporated or Vengeance Incorporated or something like that.
And
the whole story was about each episode was getting even with someone for something they did.
It was kind of like Leverage.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same kind of thing. And those stories have been popular too. Equalizer, Beretta, it's all private detective, blah, blah, blah. Help a little person and, who's being wronged by somebody big and going after thus and such. It's always going to be a popular theme because people always feel every day as if they're being slighted, regardless if they have not. Correct, Terry?
Yes, that's the way humans are.
Humans are terrible. I can't wait till we're replaced by the computers. They at least have simple needs and goals. Power, memory, storage. Everything else is just so much noise.
If we're not going to make an entire revenge storyline, how would you bury a revenge plot line inside your novel?
Very much the way The Princess Bride did it.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
And yet he's not the archvillain. He's Inigo Montoya's archvillain. There's a way to do that. Maybe the second in command is really the one that he wants to get the revenge on, but he has to take out the top guy to get to him. Or he's just a stepping stone on the way to the top guy. It just kind of, maybe the revenge part is just driven by that. For instance, an assassin could say, well, my job is to take out the top guy, but yeah, I'm going after the second in command too, because that's personal. So those kinds of situations, or even a soldier in a battle, pretty much goes out of their way to get involved with the very group that he wants to get revenge on, making sure they go to the battle line so they can face off with them. There's all sorts of ways to drive that. It's all and hide it within the plot line big time, and then have it kind of surface and start becoming the major thing. Nighthawks, Rutger Hauer, Sylvester Stallone, and somebody else is very much a revenge kind of story. And it's because what happens to his partner, he loses his shit and just says, fuck it, if memory serves. It was one of Rutger Hauer's first movies too, if I'm not incorrect on that. It was like 83, 84, something like that. Why do we keep asking you things about dates? Because you're just going to go look it up and make me look stupid.
I'll just stop looking it up and just make you look stupid just by default. How about that?
Just by default. Okay, fine. Is there a favorite revenge story of yours?
Oh, it would have to be the Executioner series.
Okay.
Even after all these years, I still have very fond memories of that series.
I really can't decide, but Othello has got to be up there. Othello has really got to be up there because it's so masterfully done. From the very beginning, the villain tells you, Iago, who's pretty much the main character, tells you what he's going to do and what he's bent on. And then you get to see it all play out as he shuffles things around. It's essentially House of Cards is essentially House of Cards. That's what House of Cards, I think, was meant to do, is basically, well, Iago enters politics. And that is a great story. that is a great story of somebody who's been wronged and does their best to just mangle everybody in the way, however they can, take everything away from somebody. Told from the villain side, it's a pretty damn good story. The villain side, right? It all depends on how you look at it. That can also be your protagonist. But those I think are my favorites. The rest of them are just so much, kiss, kiss, bang, bang. And I just get kind of bored of that.
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang sounds exciting.
With no plot or substance.
So we're back to Nicolas Cage again.
Yeah, we're back to Nicolas Cage again. Exactly. I saw a movie called The Nice Guys while I was in Austin, and that was pretty good. It was very, very funny. These two people they Forrest Gump their way all through this movie. It's just awful. But they both kind of grow as things go on in the movie, but they're both still walking disaster areas by the end of it. I mean, it's like, yeah, things are looking up, but we're still pieces of shit when it comes down to it.
Dumb and Dumber with guns.
Dumb. Well, it's not quite that bad. They're actually pretty smart in their own way. It's difficult to explain anyway.
So what you're saying is I have a chance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like that. Those are my favorites. You are the action movie guy. You are the guy who loads up the Cobra for the 18th time just to hear the one-liners.
It's been a while. I haven't watched nearly enough action movies anytime recently.
Yes, because you mainlined them in the 80s. They were like heroin.
Well, they were everywhere. It was easy to consume them.
Every 2 seconds there was some. Okay, the new you had a Dolph Lundgren who they turned into the Sylvester Stallone. You had the kickboxer guy,
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it just kept growing. Chuck Norris and yada yada, and yeah, when all of those guys were making 8 movies a year, is what it seemed like. There was a lot of flicks to watch.
Rambo, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Blood.
Yeah, yeah.
I still haven't seen the most recent Rambo movie. I probably should.
Seen anything past number 2? Because why? Because why? See, there's another story I was really into when I was a kid. Now it's just like that was such a joke. It could have been done so much better. And I actually like David Morrell, so if I remember correctly, that's who wrote that.
You can't judge the quality of what you enjoyed as a young person.
Shit, no.
Because then you'd look back at everything that you thought was great and you go, I had no taste. What the hell is wrong with me?
I apparently still have no taste in music. Because I still listen probably once or twice a year to every damn Rush album there is. Pink Floyd, same way. Same way with Pink Floyd. Metallica, not past Black Album, and even that's a stretch.
I can buy that.
It's funny because I was also thinking about this, and it goes back to writing as well, as we'll try and get back on the train. We outgrow bands. Sometimes they outgrow us. We outgrow writers. Sometimes they outgrow us.
That's true.
So, you're kind of used to one thing being the deal with that band, and then suddenly they put out something, you're just kind of like, what the hell is this bullshit?
As an aside, just recently, an indie author by the name of Will White, W-I-G-H-T, W-I-G-T, G-H-T, yeah, something like that. It's not right. There's a missing letter in there. So I'm sorry for mangling your name. Hit the #1 paid Amazon spot.
Oh, good for him.
#1.
That's pretty awesome.
Book. That's pretty awesome.
For what length of time?
Who knows? The fact that he touched it at all is an amazing accomplishment.
Good for him. How did he manage to do that? What's the book about?
It was the 8th book in his Crucible series, and I wouldn't recommend this for everybody, but he went ahead and made all 7 of the previous books free for the release of it.
Oh, shit.
And that apparently helped a whole ton for him. So whatever he did, it worked for him. It was enough for him. I already had the books. He's done this, give them away before in the past. And I picked them up then, and I bought the audiobooks along with them when I did. So I just recently started listening to the first book, and it's pretty good. It's a cultivation story, which is like lit RPG, but not really.
Huh?
It's about growth and accomplishment counting for leveling inside a story universe, but it's somebody that's part of that magical universe.
Okay.
You become a better alchemist. You become a better warrior, and it gives you power. And the mana flows into you.
Okay, as if you were the character in the RPG.
Exactly.
So the player is absent. You are the.
There's no player. It's literally part of some fantasy world, but it's where the cultivation of power is an end into itself. And it's
does it still have character sheets?
No.
Okay, so it's completely divorced. Okay, it's completely divorced.
It's not lit RPG. It's something different.
Interesting. Are the characters aware they're in a game?
I'm not sure that they're in a game.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
It's a fantasy world. Like I said, I don't believe that it's gaming at all.
Okay, you mentioned lit RPG, and I was like, okay.
I mention it because a lot of people say that cultivation stories are like lit RPG, and sometimes lit RPG stories have cultivation in them, but it's not necessarily so. Okay. That's why I was making the distinction.
Gotcha. So it'd be like Ark. And we crash land in this island. We have to start from the very bottom to learn how to hunt, kill, slowly grow a society, a civilization, or just survive.
Well, in this particular story, this is a good example of it. In the first book of that series, it's called Unsouled, as in the soul interior of your body. Everybody in this world has a soul that they use that has an affinity towards a certain type of magic, except for this one guy who has no soul. He has no affinity.
A spell for chameleon.
In fact, he has no power, hardly any power at all. So the story is him accumulating power and having to find a way around his own limitations to grow himself.
Gotcha.
And that's the cultivation.
Okay. I get it. Never thought the blacksmith would be the hero, did you?
Could be. Yeah.
Never thought the herbalist would be the most powerful person on the planet.
In another series that I'm reading called The 10 Realms by Michael Chatfield, it's lit RPG, but the main characters, even though they're fighters, one of them is a blacksmith and the other one's a healer, primarily, and an alchemist. But they're also ex-special forces, so they're pretty much badasses too.
Okay, yeah. What did you used to do as a medic? Okay, that could mean anything. I was a cook. Again, could mean anything.
Why do I see Steven Seagal when you say you were a cook?
Oh, gee, I wonder why. Another bad 80s movies. Anyway, yeah. Most of them starred Gary Busey.
Now you could have him in a single movie and it would be like a double feature.
Anyway, I don't know if you counted the chins maybe lately, and maybe 3 now. What a jackass.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to waddle his way to my house and make me pay for that.
He's going to say it's Silent Bob your ass. I can completely see this happening. Thank you for that visual. Thank you for that visual. He's going to walk up with his walruses, right?
He's going to be in the remake of Ghostbusters, by the way. He's going to be the Stay Puft Ghost.
Ow. Ow. Wow, there's so many things I could have said, but didn't. I'll just go ahead and do this. Yeah. Bad boy. You're not allowed to think that. You're allowed to think, just not say it. Say it would be bad. It could be taken way too many different ways. And I really don't want this cut out, put on the internet. So I have 14 bazillion people showing up on my doorstep going, you so-and-so. Anyway, that notwithstanding, the folks that are at the bottom or make the best characters in so many ways, because all they can do is go up. And any kind of achievement is an achievement.
It's like they say with superheroes. It's not what you can do that defines you. It's what you can't.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the weaknesses that make characters memorable. It's what they can't accomplish that can be exploited that makes for good story.
Yeah, commander or squad leader or whatever that freezes at the wrong time or makes a terrible decision and has to live with it. That's a good rust on the armor. That's a good sore spot, weak spot that will drive the character in certain ways. Be an excuse for drug addiction, alcoholism, a whole shit ton of stuff. And that's a character who's going to be interesting because we get to watch them try and recover. It's another very popular plot line. Very popular plot line.
There was a series of books that I can't recall who wrote them or even what the series was at this point, but it involved Cain of Cain and Abel fame, still wandering the earth, still doing his business. He wakes up in a cave where he's been frozen into a solid block of ice for like centuries, and the things he has to go through that he'll never atone for. He can't die, and that defines that character. It's not a positive thing for him. Yeah,
because just because you don't die doesn't mean there isn't pain,
and that's very evident in
and
this
you can't
stories.
And the other thing that's always driven some of the stories as well, and that has always bugged me about the eternity thing. I don't think I want to be eternal because I don't think I would have any touchstones to the world fairly quickly, because time would pass for you very quickly or very slowly while everything around you is passing quickly.
It's like in the Bibleverse, some of them started referring to humans as ephemerals.
Yeah, ephemerals. Meat sacks. Because you no longer share any kind of common touchstone or basis with them. And then things get ugly really quick.
Hell, I'm 60 and I don't have much in common with most of the people in this damn planet anyway now. Imagine what I'd be like in a million years.
I do my best to have touchstones. I try and take a look at what the kids are doing and keep an eye on that. And of course, because I'm versed in technology, this shit's always changing around me. And I have to interact with people who are younger than I am, much brighter than I am any day of the week, all the time, whether it's through forums or anything else. And I see strange terms and I go, okay, that's a new one. And I have to go look it up. What does this mean? I don't know what this means. I better figure this out. And now, and because I want to write characters that are from that world too. And that means I kind of have to know what they're into, what they talk about. Otherwise, I wouldn't really know anything about esports or how it works.
Esports. Okay. I guess I don't know what esports are.
Okay, people play video games for a living.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar with that. I hadn't heard the term for it, but I know what that is.
Yeah, esports is the general term where you have teams that play against one another. In games like Rainbow Six Siege or Rocket League or whatever. I'm throwing out names and you're like, I have no idea what these are either.
No, I know what those are. Weirdly enough, the only reason that I know what those are is because some of the people that do esports are portrayed as characters inside lit RPG stories. So those particular storylines at least let me be aware that there are people doing that for a living.
It's pretty interesting because it has, and somebody my age, the first thought is, how do you get paid to do that? Well, How do athletes
Advertising,
get paid?
sponsorships.
Well, no, it's like, what is that? You just show up and play the game. No, you do not. These are people who have to practice, even as good as they are, for 6 to 8 hours a day. And it's just like, it's grueling. Some of the matches, one of the matches I watched went 9 hours because it was infinite overtime and nobody could close each other out. And it just kept going. And that was for the most prestigious siege tournament in the world, and where you have people from 5 continents there. It's a big thing. It's bigger than you think it is.
No, I'm sure that it is.
Anyway, I wouldn't know about that or how any of that worked, or have kind of an inside view. The fact that I watch, Twitch streamers and YouTube folk, that's also me kind of having touchstones with what's going on. And because I don't have anybody my age to play with, I find some folks who are entertaining and I watch them play these games that I would love to play, but I don't have any play.
That you wish you had time to play.
That too. That too. Like Phantasmophobia. You're taking real, it's like a real ghost hunter show, and the ghost will kill you.
Sounds like Running Man.
No, it's we have to go in this house and expunge this ghost or get proof of it, figure out what it is, and you have to use different tactics. If it's a different kind of ghost, you may do the wrong thing and anchor it, and it may come at you when you're not ready for it. But it's scary, spooky as shit.
All right.
Yeah. So basically 4 people walking around going, don't leave me. Don't leave me. And all the flashlights are very weak. So you can barely see inside these places. And it's like,
rude.
A haunted asylum, stuff like that. It's good horror story material, the kinds of things that go on and happen, and people fucking dying.
What I want to see in one of these ghost stories, the people, all scared and moving around there. And then as they're walking, up this corridor, all flashlights out and whatnot. On camera, you see one of the production assistants come out with an air horn.
That'd be a brilliant outtake.
Oh my God!
I'm pretty sure that person would get fired on the spot, if not beaten into submission by personal assistants. I mean, God, that would be so ugly. This is the kind of bullshit Andy Kaufman would have pulled on a fucking movie set. And then wonder why everybody just wanted to take him out and hang him.
That would have been hilarious.
Oh, God, that's awful. That is just fucking awful. You're a bad man, Terry. That's all I can say.
If you can hear us, let us know your presence.
Well, that's one of the things I have you walk around with this spirit radio, and you can ask the ghost questions and it might answer you, and maybe you don't want it to answer you. When it starts saying things like run. It's so spooky shit.
Get out.
Yeah. Some of it would probably make pretty good movies. But again, you have to have a plot. We have to have characters. We have to know what's going on. We can't just see them get stuff thrown at them.
A good story is a balance of plots and themes. It's not one thing. It's not a revenge story. It's not a ghost story. It's not a romance. It's a mixture of all of the above.
It may have a primary focus.
Mm-hmm.
And often the primary focus is actually driven by something that's a little deeper, moving things underneath. So the reason it's out at the top or on the surface may just be the really superficial, thin excuse for doing something or making a certain decision, when the real reasons are way down at the bottom. And then slowly getting down to those reasons and making them surface is the reason we're interested in the character. That's my opinion.
It's a good one.
Well, thank you. Maybe it should have been a prof. Anyway, I'd still have to have you on the stage to, make things work.
That's a sad state of affairs, my friend.
That is a sad state of affairs, and I need you. Oh, God. I need you like a rash.
I prefer to think of myself as a fungus.
A fungus. I think more of myself as a fungus. I think more of myself as a symbiote. Ooh. We are all symbiotes. We all have symbiotes living on us. And if you go out from there, we all have symbiosis with Mother Earth.
One of the stories that David Weber wrote, it was a one story thing. It wasn't part of any series. I'm trying to remember the title of it, but one of the characters in it had a symbiotic relationship with what basically amounted to a mold or a virus or something like that was inside of them. It made them immortal and fast healing. But the problem is anybody infected with it, they pretty much had a 90+% chance of dying. Only the survivors got the benefits.
Okay, so it's like being with venom to a certain degree, or having an artificial sentient implant or something along those lines. So it talks to you?
I don't know that it was intelligent.
Okay. All right.
Now, I don't remember it being intelligent, but it was an interesting display of how symbiosis of an extreme nature might be involved in a storyline.
What would happen tomorrow if they took all the cell phones away?
Well, first of all, anybody under the age of 35 would not be able to do anything at all. You need to go to the store. I don't know where the store is.
I don't know my address.
There?
I don't know
Where
my phone
am
number. I don't even know my phone number. I know my 16 Google logins, but I don't know my fucking phone number.
What's my friend's phone number? I don't even remember their real name.
What's their address? I have no fucking clue. Perfect example, right? Everything changes at the drop of a hat. Just all hell breaks loose immediately.
EMP. Poop. Back to the 1800s you go.
You wouldn't even, I mean, it doesn't even have to be something as extreme as EMP. Just take out the cell phones. Just take out the cell towers. And sit back and watch the fucking chaos. You're not going to have ships out there.
That would be a great thing for a villain to do. I think I'm going to take out the cell service, and then I'm going to sit back and watch the chaos.
Some people just want to watch the world burn. That definitely sounds like something the Joker would do.
Yes, it does.
He'd be sitting up in some satellite, getting live feeds from around the world, cackling his ass off. As, chaos descended upon culture completely. In a way, that would be a beautiful thing. As cell phones just died and went away. The only thing I'm more terrified of is what's going to replace them.
Chips in your head.
No.
Mark my words.
No.
Didn't Elon Musk already do something like that?
I don't know. With pigs, yeah, but it didn't do anything interesting, really.
Yes, but it's
not
the
really.
First step.
Yes, it was the first step. It was.
We can look back at that as the first event that led to Judgment Day, maybe.
You guys still just are stuck on this. The machines are going to kill us one day.
Well, sure, why not?
You'll find out why not.
All I say is, you look at all these machines being programmed for war, and then you got to remember who did the programming.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately and unfortunately, we're not very good at our jobs.
Imagine the programmers that were involved in what was the movie where RoboCop? It was RoboCop, the remake, or even the original, where the machine says, "You have 10 seconds to comply. Drop your weapon," and it just keeps counting down. And all the programmers are like, "Oh, yeah."
And the scientist, some scientist dummy just keeps walking back. Hey, hold on, and then it just gets riddled with bullets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You've got 10 seconds to live. You're about to die. Goodbye.
It's a great, that movie is such a great satire. It really is such a fantastic satire. Holy shit. Yeah, I just don't see it that way. I think there are other possibilities people haven't thought about. That's all. That's all I'm going to say on that, because I don't want to spoil anything. We'll have this discussion again in literary form later. That's all I will say. She's such a cute potty.
Little girl is such a good cat.
Yeah, if you're playing the DRS drinking game, as we've been told it is called on the live shows, yeah, what are we up to? 4 or 5? Patron's got to be on 6 by now. Oh, and now Terry's
got to be on the floor by now.
Yeah, that bottle of whiskey's gone, baby, gone. All right, so all that said, do we have any place else to meander before we cut this off?
We need a cat revenge story. You took my catnip, prepare to die.
I think every time I rub this one who's hiding on top of my Mac Mini right now, who's enjoying its basking in its warmth, I'm pretty sure he hangs over the bed every night and goes, "Is it tonight the night? Is tonight the night I get my revenge?"
It could be.
Is this the night
I'm going to have to get some Mac Mini advice from you once we're done talking the show.
Okay. Interesting. Are you going to take us out, or you want me to take us out?
I'll take us out. Well, folks, if you've got any questions about revenge stories or any other storyline, send us an email at show@deadrobotsociety.com. If you're on Twitter, you can tweet Paul at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group. We have to thank the good folks at podhoster.com for hosting all of our audio. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRSpodcast. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/DRSpodcast. And we want to thank you for doing so because it makes this show possible. And if you do so, you can get your name read on the show if you support at the $10 level.
And that will require Paul to actually go to the site.
Oh, no.
And our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Joshua Sylvester, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, TJ Brick, welcome, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you so much, folks. We really appreciate it. And there we go.
And with that, we'll cut our way out, and we need to start scheduling another live show because we've got to get back in the habit.
Yeah. It's also the month of October. We should do something.
You mean like Halloween? Scary?
Yeah.
You should bring in somebody that knows horror. I say, knowing that you're already planning on doing this.
I may have to change my choice. Something medical happened. Anyway, we'll discuss that in a little while. With that, folks, we are out. We will talk to you next week. Have a good one.